That's Brandon. And down below is Mr. JD Walker. And we have one hell of a wild card weekend to talk about. Arguably one of the best I think we have ever seen, when it comes to a single weekend of football, to say nothing of whatever may happen with the Bucs and the Cowboys, because that's going to be phenomenal in its own right. But we had 5 games in there, and 4 of them were pretty much all go. And personally, as a Giants fan, I don't think my heart can take us on a game like that.
Hey, well then you better get some medicine for this weekend, my friend. Because
well, yeah. What I'll probably need is like Mylanta for this one, because I have a feeling they're not going to do well against the Eagles. But we'll get to that in its own due course. Brandon, I know you wanted to basically go into this a lot. I'm going to leave it to you in this case. If you basically, by the 3 of you, do you want to just take them in order, or do you want to take them anything specific?
I think the order that we're played in is great. Easiest way to go.
Your calls will be answered in the order in which they were received. So, all right. Yes.
Yeah.
So in this case,
we spent 21 seconds previewing this game. Let's see how long it takes for us to go over it.
Arguably, the only one that I think was really not much of a contest in a lot of ways. The 49ers did what they were expected to do. The Seahawks, kudos to making it to the postseason without Russell Wilson and with Geno Smith. But at the end of the day, the better team won.
I think that this game in a vacuum was completely ugh. But when you think about some of the other games that we are going to cover, let's put some respect on Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan.
Yes.
About what you could do with a third string quarterback. And just seamless for like 7 games now.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of talk, and I'm going to go Dan Campbell if you ask me where I want the coach of the year. But really, I mean, what Shanahan did with Purdy was just like went unnoticed. It really is gone unnoticed, and just got the lead in the third quarter and ended the game.
Jens,
you know what The way Brock Purdy's playing, I really think it's unfair to call him a third string anymore, because it gets to a point. It shows you what you could just do with a talented quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you were to just go past, a high school field and you saw Brock Purdy just going through some throws and stuff like that, and if these are for a lot of quarterbacks, by the way, back up third, you'd be like, damn, that guy can sling it. But then when you get into these types of settings, then you see who's made of what. But I think Brock Purdy is really made of some stuff, and he's really not hindering or burrowing away to this. Burrowing. We'll talk about him later. But kind of shying away from this pressure and just kind of the expectations. Like a lot of people are picking the 49ers to get to the Super Bowl. And yes, that kind of might have been some regardless of quarterback play, just because of how talented that roster is, how great the play calling is, the coaching staff is. But Brock Purdy, I really think, has taken this Niners team offensively, even with the play calling and skill positions being said, to a little bit of a next level. I think he has a better arm than Jimmy. He can certainly throw it further than Jimmy, as we've seen. And I just, this has been a sample size now. This has been 11 games now, regular season into playoffs. And he's looked fantastic. I mean, there really hasn't been, sure, there's a couple throws. Everybody has a few throws that are not good. But for the most part, I really can't remember a time in this 11-week run where we sat there like, Brock Purdy, even in the wins, is he the guy? Nah. I mean, he has picked up the bit and looks like he has been the Niners franchise quarterback for 4 years now. And I think this says a lot about where, the draft. I think it says, certainly where you can get guys and just, developing young players, quarterbacks, play calling, and the whole 49 yards there. Little play on words there.
JD, back to you.
So look at what the 49ers did with Mr. Irrelevant from the draft. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, they have the number 3 pick from that draft, who's given them essentially nothing for the past 2 years. And we've watched what the number 2 pick from that same draft has done. And just sometimes it's just about finding the right situation and coming through when your number is called. And Brock Purdy has done that and then some. Yeah, I have a group chat with a few Jets fans, including Sammy D, an occasional contributor to the show, and all of them are just saying, just look at this, look at what we can make Brock Purdy do. Yet we can't get decent quarterback play from anybody here. It's sickening, but in any event, the Brock Purdy has been fantastic so far, and kudos to the Seahawks as well. The Seahawks were expected to be terrible, just like the Jets were. Geno Smith stepped up when opportunity presented himself, and he's done fine. I'm happy for him. Heck, I would take either Geno Smith or Sam Darnold back at this point. Both are free agents, so I would rather see that than Woody do something stupid like sign Lamar Jackson. Because the better that the Giants do, that's usually when Woody goes rogue.
It's basically like when the Mets did well and the Yankees sucked. Steinbrenner would go on a rampage. Not unlike the situation.
He went on such a rampage. He re-signed Brian Cashman, a guy that doesn't even put on a uniform. But that's fine.
But the funny thing, listen, we can go into the Yankees and trash them. Please, I have plenty of ammo.
No. With this,
not today.
This is not the time.
Not today. There will come a time, I promise you, but not today. But the funny thing about this is you look at that 49er team. You look at what Brock Purdy did. I worry, now correct me if I'm wrong, was it Rob Johnson who played like one game and got signed by the Bills for like a massive 5-year deal? Because they saw one game and they're like, oh my God, him.
You're talking
Rob Flynn. Johnson.
No, you're talking Matt Flynn.
I think he's talking Matt Flynn with Seahawks.
Right. Okay, they both did the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
They both did the same thing. They had one good game as a backup. Rob Johnson was Mark Brunell's backup in Jacksonville, and he had a 400-yard passing game filling in for him. And then the Bills signed him to a 5-year contract, and he was benched halfway through the first season for Doug Flutie. And Matt Flynn did the same thing a generation later. He played a few fill-in games for Rodgers. I believe one was when he was. They'd already clinched a bye, so he was resting for the playoffs, and then threw for like 480 yards, most in Packers history, 100 years in a otherwise meaningless game against Detroit.
I do have a question for you guys later.
But I would, and for Kyle's point, I've been joking for a few months now that the 49ers and the Jets should swap busts and trade Lance for Wilson straight up.
No,
here's the question. But see, also to tie into it, there was some talk. I think it was Eric Mangini that's talked about it, that he thinks that the 49ers would be a perfect spot for Tom Brady. And for a 1 year, close it out. I was intrigued by, because I was hearing Vegas for Brady after the season, which does make some sense in this case. We talked about
McDaniels.
that. Yeah, or what's that?
Yeah.
The McDaniels connection with the Raiders.
Yeah, but in this case, Derek Carr goes to Tampa and then he goes over west. But the 49ers were curious thought on something like this.
No way. Not with what Purdy's already done. You're going to get a guy who's making no money. I mean, literally no money in NFL talks, Mr. Irrelevant, versus a guy who, granted, takes only $20 million, which for a quarterback is no money, but it's zero versus $20 million. And you're trying to hold on to CMC. You're trying to hold on to Ayuk. You're trying to hold on to you just paid Kittle, I believe.
You trying to hold that defense together, the line.
Yeah, if you could get Purdy for 2 or 3 more years, even if you have to give it. Yeah, I don't think.
I think it's still too early. Here's the problem. You see somebody like that. The defense has not seen a kid like this, so they don't necessarily have the experience of knowing what to deal with. Once they watch the footage, there's going to be a different Brock Purdy. He's going to deal with, because of the fact that they will have footage on him.
Oh, they have the NFL coaches have the required 4 NFL games. I think.
Yeah,
I think this is where I disagree.
There's an off season to adjust, though. Makes a difference.
Calling him a third string quarterback now, I agree with Brandon. We're past that. He's proved he's not. Although for some reason he was third on the depth chart. But the flip side is we have a coach who is proven with has a track record of proven of being good with quarterbacks and winning with quarterbacks who may not even be good in the case of Garoppolo. And this is a quarterback. This is a coach who is Andy Reid like. He takes these guys and goes good. It comes down to the money. I mean, Scott, you're the king of that's a contract that's going to bite you in the butt. Yeah. And you're talking in baseball doesn't even have.
It's not as bad though, because like the cap is there, so it's a little more protected than baseball.
Let me
also specifically with Brady. Go ahead, Brent.
Well, I was going to say, just from the Brock Purdy perspective, what that situation is now done is you've now extended the 49ers Super Bowl window for another 4 years because he is a true rookie. Mm-hmm. So you have him on a rookie deal, and forgetting the franchise tag things. Even with Garoppolo, I don't think he's going to be on. He would have been on this team for another 4 or 5 years. I really don't, especially with his shape play in playoffs. So now, what you could do, bringing up the Obi with the financial, you can keep C-Mac. You can go pay Ayuk and Debo and Kittle, and you can keep and the defense, and you can keep this whole outside of the quarterback, this whole 49ers main roster together for 7, 6, 7 years, 8 years when you go back to these last few teams with Garoppolo. So I think from that standpoint, financially and Super Bowl window wise, you have to continue with Brock Purdy. Mm-hmm. You have to allow him to develop under this system for another full off season. And look, this is 11 games now. I mean, this isn't, he just came in week 15, 16, 17. He came in more than halfway through the season. This is a solid sample size. We're almost going, if he gets to the Super Bowl, I mean, that's a season worth of games now going into another off season as the starting quarterback. I think you leave Brady out of that because it's not only that, you're going to have to defer coaching and play calling to Brady, and Shanahan does not want to do that. Fair. And then to bring up the Raiders point, I just think going up against Mahomes and Herbert and even Russell Wilson, we'll see how that situation bounces back. 6 games a season, that's not happening at his age.
So in this case, you make a lot of sense there.
Go ahead. Another thing with Brady specifically, we all know that Brady holds grudges. And although the 49ers were his childhood team, when he left the Patriots a few years ago, the 49ers decided to extend Garoppolo instead of going after Brady. There was the quote, I believe the full quote is I can't repeat, but it was something along the lines of "They kept this clown over me." He was saying about a nameless quarterback, but later on people connected the dots and figured out he was talking about Garoppolo and the 49ers. Well, after they did that, I think that the 49ers are dead to Brady anyway. In addition to all the financials and everything with Brock Purdy and how well he's been playing that you guys just said. So that's just icing on top. No way Brady goes to San Francisco now.
Plus, if the Niners really wanted Brady, he never would have been a Tampa Bay Buck. He would have been a Niner for a third year now. That's what it is. Because he wanted to go then, he does not want to go there now and give up his whole thing of holding grudges and kind of being that petty, you did this to me, kind of eye for an eye kind of a thing. Where I don't see San Francisco happening.
Which means that also with San Francisco now you have Jimmy G and Trey Lance. So you have some options there to try and dump it. They tried to dump Jimmy G in the offseason anyway. Tried damn hard too, and then suddenly had to rely on him to get into the playoffs. But you suddenly have a Trey Lance who may be available. Let's throw Carolina.
Or a cheap backup. Keep Lance, and he's your cheap backup.
I don't know. There's, possibly down in Houston. That's a possibility as well. Carolina, we always throw that one into the mix. Atlanta possibly.
Let's talk about the games we just saw and not the places that Tom Brady's going to land. We'll talk about Brady later. We're going to get to the Monday Nighter.
Yes.
Okay. So we are in this case going to actually hang on a sec. There we go. No, I don't want that one, do I? I want that one. I don't want
to look at Cole Beasley.
There you go.
Yeah,
basically Tom Brady'd his retirement so he can come try and get another ring. Hell with Cole Beasley.
Yeah, had the wrong one there. So But
Wow.
yeah, this is arguably one of the all-time biggest comebacks or chokes you can ever think of.
Never a doubt.
Okay, I doubted. Saturday is a family day, a lot of it, and so I had to miss the beginning of this game. Was working with my wife and children on planning a trip somewhere,
Aw,
and I
sweet.
looked at my phone and saw 27-0 with like a minute or
That's not a good
30
year for
seconds
family.
left at the first half. So I went to bed
Mhm.
on the game enough, and I did
Yeah.
not wake up in the next morning. As a matter of fact, the first post I saw on social media, I thought was a sarcastic post. And then I started, wait, no, this is real.
Yeah.
They came back. So that's my take on the game. I missed it. Missed it
That was the
all. I
only
was
game
I
shocked.
had
I
a
got
similar experience.
Last week we predicted all 6 games. That was the only one. I was the only one to actually pick the Chargers to win that game. And by all accounts, I would have looked like a genius compared to the 4 of you, 5 of you include James, that actually went the opposite way and picked Jacksonville. I thought I was so smart. That first half, I'm like, I'm a genius. I'm the only one that's got it. I'm going to go 5-0, and all you bastards are going to have to kneel below before me. And then fast forward an hour and a half, and Bert.
I had the same thoughts during the Baltimore-Cincinnati game last night. We'll get to it. We'll get to that
in a minute.
in due time.
But oh my God! I mean, you look at this. It's weird when that one touchdown happened, right when Trevor Lawrence had that touchdown right before halftime. You felt some. I don't know about you, but I felt something in there that was kind of like, this is the spark the team needs to start fresh in the second half to show that you can do it. It's that 1 second round. Rocky smacks, Ivan Drago in the face. It's a cut. It's a bad cut. That kind of a thing. That touchdown to me was that left hook by Rocky against Drago in that moment. And that's what started the comeback that this team had. And little by little, that team just chipped away, came back. And then I'm looking at this and thinking to myself, yeah, it's 10 now. They're up by 10 now. I don't feel as confident anymore. And then I'm sitting there hoping that Jacksonville misses that field goal. And forget that.
I had a similar experience to Obi, where I checked the score and it saw 27-7. And I said, "Yep, the heck." I said, "Nope, not even going to bother." And then then the next morning I saw that they came back and won. So I didn't really bother to watch much of either of them because it looked like it was going to be 2 duds on Saturday. So I didn't really watch either game. Then lo and behold,
yeah.
Just another Jets quarterback missed opportunity here because Braden Mann got a game-saving tackle against the Rams 2 years ago to blow the number 1 pick for the Jets.
Brandon?
All right. So I did. I'm the only one I see that stayed up to watch this game.
I did finish the game though. I did.
Okay. All right. So we're the 2 of us here. I do have. I did have some shekels on the game, but nevertheless, I really thought that once they scored the first touchdown, Jacksonville, because at some, whether it be they were gonna do something. I just thought with the way Jacksonville had come into the playoffs and with Doug Peterson, I really had confidence that they would be able to percolate something. So once they scored that first touchdown, I'm like, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do. This is honest to God. I have no reason to lie on this show. Nothing gets me. I get nothing from it. But my boss at work is a diehard Chargers fan.
Ooh.
And we were working Saturday, and he left.
I didn't think there were any left.
I looked at him, and this was Saturday, so we're about 20 minutes before kickoff, and I said, the Jaguars are going to win 33-32 on a game-winning field goal.
Whoa.
And so we're texting him throughout the game, and it's starting. And we're about halfway through the fourth quarter, and it's that situation is starting to come. And I'm like, pretty much my situation, what I told you was pretty much on point to happen. He was like, except for this, he was like, yeah, pretty much. And go, what were you going to say?
No, I was going to say, no, finish your thought first. I just have a question.
And going back to the first Jaguars touchdown, setting in, here we go. It just felt like the Chargers were falling back to usual Chargers way. From a more kind of analytical assessment here, I thought a lot of their decision making, I'm talking Brandon Staley, decision making in that second half and a lot of play on the field. There were a lot of moments that easily could have ended this. We can go back to that Kyle Van Noy drop pass that was right in his hands.
Yep.
And but that's just one moment. There were just so many different opportunities, but I just felt like Brandon Staley and the Chargers went away from their total identity. They under Staley, they were an aggressive team on fourth down. They go for it. Both coaches, Peterson and Staley, known to go for it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Staley became very conservative, and in being conservative, I think either panic or just being that way. That's not your identity. That's not how you played and coached football games. So you're not really in your usual element. And I just thought by that point the Jaguars really had just took momentum and really got to the fourth. You were like, okay, they're gonna do this. Like it just felt
there was a
really
vibe in the air.
Yeah. It just you felt like there was nothing the Chargers do that were gonna stop this.
Yeah. Now, have you seen your boss since then?
No, I will see him tomorrow.
Okay, so basically, if you're looking to hire Brandon, because basically he's going to be on the tomorrow.
Yes.
Dude, actually, you know what?
My prophecy leads termination. I'm.
Drop,
you know what? Hey, you know what? I'm probably. You know what? I can file a misfire for that.
Dude,
wrongful termination.
Wrongful termination for being a prophet, predicting the future.
Another thing about Brandon Staley is that this fits right in line with Brandon Staley's other worst moment as a coach, the Raiders game at the end of last season where he blew the playoffs by taking the time out. So the Chargers season has ended 2 years in a row on stupid coaching decisions by this guy. That normally means you don't have a job after that. But since it is only year 2, he's maybe he'll get a third strike. We shall see. But it's. Go ahead, Obi.
Yeah, I called for Jeff Saturday, who I love, his job on that comeback, and I'm going to do
Jeff
this
Sunday. He's Jeff Sunday.
He should be back to Jeff Monday. I'd love to watch him on TV. And the thing with Staley is you lost this game, and there were some coaching questions. And, oh, by the way, like some of the other games we're going to talk about, your best player wasn't on the field. On those other cases, they were hurt from naturally playing in the middle of the season when it mattered. This guy, Michael Williams, isn't on the field because he's playing him in a meaningless football game, a guy who has trouble playing a full season. And do you go for it maybe on that same game? If the same game's exactly the same, are you more confident to be more aggressive on that fourth down with 2.5 whatever minutes left? Maybe. Now you got that big target, and maybe you go for it. And maybe that's so. And if there's a team that Sean Payton wants to coach, it's going to be this one. You have the best chance of getting Sean Payton.
100%.
You have the number one choice in coach if you fire him. I don't think there's another team firing him.
From an on-field standpoint, yes.
Yeah.
But
because the Saints are keeping Dennis Allen. They've come out and said that. Plus, the way this Chargers team is built defensively, offensively, skill positions is very similar to Drew Brees' teams. He had about 2 or 3 very good to great receivers, 1 or 2 backs that are great in the passing game out of the backfield, and you had a good defense, good linebackers, good corners, a pass rush, and we saw him win a Super Bowl. Brandon Staley, you could be Brandon Gonley after this. I don't know.
The only thing that makes me for on the field, yes, absolutely, Sean Payton would be a perfect fit for this team. But since Payton is still under contract with the Saints for another 2 years, so any team that wants him to coach would need to compensate the Saints accordingly for them to release him from the contract, whether it be, whether via draft picks, cold hard cash. Will the Spanish, some combination of both? Throw in a few random players if you want. Basically just like what the Bucs did 20 years ago for John Gruden, and then got them a Super Bowl. So will the Chargers do that? I don't think they will. And this is another team with ownership flux. So I talk a lot on the show about teams that it starts from the top down. Teams with a mess in ownership and management usually are a mess on the field. The Chargers have been a problem with that for years, especially with the whole San Diego to LA thing that basically obliterated their fan base. Brandon's boss might be the only diehard Chargers fan left because the entirety of San Diego hates them for what the Spanos family did.
I got family
and
they did.
and they're not and they have no footing in LA because everybody likes the Rams, the Lakers, or literally anything else to do aside from watch the Chargers.
The Kings.
So
the Anaheim Ducks.
to the Brandon's boss comment and Scott's comment about family out there. I know a few still San Diego, now LA Charger fans. And what they all have in common, the ones who are still fans, is they no longer live in San Diego first. Like they left San Diego first. So when the Chargers left, they didn't feel betrayed. And I think that's like the few people who are fans.
Yeah, like I have friends who are Raiders fans. So what do they care? What do they care about whether they're in Oakland, LA, Vegas? Doesn't matter.
Right.
They're still Raiders fans.
I'm like, dude, the amount of times that team has changed. I mean, how many?
He's also a Dodgers fan, so he's got this thing with West Coast teams, which I find very weird. But that's okay.
Well, see, I like San Diego. The city is a nice city.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just got done wrong on a few different fronts.
I believe it's the Ron Burgundy quote that he's
I believe you were right. Okay,
he's putting there.
that was
I thought that was stay classy in San Diego.
No, yeah, stay classy. Yeah.
Yeah, he reads everything on the teleprompter. Everything.
All right, we're moving on. What do you say?
All right.
So this time I'll use the right picture. Surprisingly, actually, you know what? I want to do that one instead. The Bills win, but do not buffalo the Dolphins. I think all of us did not expect Miami to pull the kind of game that they did. Backup quarterback there.
None of us expected this.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill was questionable. The DeMar Hamlin emotional side of it. And obviously just playing in Buffalo in general. One of the most rabid fan bases in the NFL. And it took a lot of work for Buffalo to pull away on this one.
Well, I think it took a lot of work for Buffalo to pull away, or better yet, it looked like Allen didn't put the work in this week, and Buffalo couldn't pull away. Allen had his worst playoff game ever. So, I think that certainly measures into them not being able to pull away. And we saw what a third-string quarterback means in a 2-minute drill with the inability to get play after play after play after play off. McDaniel's taking the rap on the last one that he thought it was first down and not fourth. I don't believe that. I believe that was McDaniel's being a player's coach and just saying, yeah, it's on me, because they had multiple problems getting the play in.
Supposed to do. Good coach doesn't.
Right. Yeah. No, but there's people indicting him as a coach for not knowing it was fourth down. And I believe he's falling on the sword because for whatever reason, he saved time by calling the plays so they could get in quicker to this young kid, and he's still in trouble getting them off down the stretch. So Buffalo got lucky that it came down to Miami having the ball at the end of the game. I'm not sure if the way Allen was playing, if Allen had the ball, that Miami's defense wouldn't have pulled off a stop either. I didn't think that Miami was going to go get that. I just didn't feel like they had it in it. But had it been reversed, they may have surprised me and stopped Allen. Buffalo, I think a question that I don't know the answer to because I didn't watch enough Buffalo Bill games all season, but somebody is not saying that maybe needs to be looked at because this is horrible stuff, is now that we've gotten Hamlin out of the hospital, how much has he missed on the field? I don't know how good of a player he was. So I can't comment on that. But as you're going up against Cincinnati, is Hamlin not going to be a question and an issue? Again, I don't know how good of a player
is he able to make an appearance stuff, physically be at the stadium yet?
I don't know.
He was released from the hospital, but I don't think he went to the stadium.
He was home. He was home for the game. He was home for the game over the weekend. But I'm talking next week when they're playing against Cincinnati, because if he's up in a box someplace, that's
game over.
That's what I thought was going to happen this week.
I thought it was going to be the whole come out for the coin flip and give do the whole playoff little pregame speech that they do to hype everyone. I thought that was going to be it, I thought this was going to be 38-7.
They're saving that for next week.
Some garbage points at the end,
maybe. But he was at the practice facility yesterday, Hamlin, or the day before on Saturday.
Okay.
It's at the game yesterday. I don't think so because I feel like I would have seen some highlight of it, like Bleacher Report or something. They would have had.
Yeah, it would have been talked about.
It would have been on screen all game.
Yeah, it would have been. It would have been an absolutely viral moment, both out even transcending the sports world.
And it should be.
Yeah. But I even with Obi, your point being said, even if DeMar Hamlin was Deion Sanders or Ed Reed out there, that's still not a question. Has anything to do with Josh Allen's and the offense. The back to the kind of the turnovers. I think that's really being. I don't know if it's being overlooked or just kind of not big because the team and overall is very talented, but it's like. You go into these later rounds of the playoffs. I mean, this is going to come and bite you in the ass. And I think it's very interesting about the next game that we're going to talk about. And that team's quarterback, that the team that won, has a coach that had left this Buffalo team, and that new quarterback that he's with has his turnover numbers taken way down.
Yes.
So we can, I think that really is something to be said, especially now that we are a full season worth of a sample size for that kind of an argument. I think this Buffalo team has a few more problems than they've had in the recent few years. I think going up next week, Cincinnati, Kansas City, regardless, I think Bills are in a little bit of troubled waters here.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. The lack of the Buffalo Giants you're talking about, as you're
the New York Bills. Yep.
So
now the Buffalo Giants. Sure.
I'll take.
Yeah.
I don't care.
So
on my side, I don't care.
So Buffalo's performance, especially Allen's, was concerning for this game. I think that they do snap out of it next week. And with all of the crazy coin flip scenarios and everything, I still am not entirely clear on why the most obvious one of all was not considered, and that would be a Buffalo-Cincinnati playoff game where the game that literally was deciding the tiebreaker was the one that was suspended. So why does the same logic apply that, we'll put it at neutral site because they might have beaten Kansas City, but that logic does not apply with Buffalo and Cincinnati. But I digress. And if they don't play this, emotion might take them over Cincinnati, but Cincinnati is just as motivated. And if Cincinnati quietly believes that they should have the home game, they don't want to complain too loud for obvious reasons, and they don't. And I agree with that. This is either way. Buffalo, I think it's going to be must-see TV. They have a lot of demons to exercise.
Mm-hmm.
You have this. You have the 13 seconds from last year, 4 losing Super Bowls. You really need Ghostbusters to get rid of all these demons for Buffalo. DeMar Hamlin. There's so much. This team is snake bit, and if they win this to get the monkey off the back, they do still have that team of destiny. That we talked about last week. It's concerning how Allen played, but I think that this may have been enough of a wake-up call for them to power past the Bengals.
All right. So do you think they'll be able to pull this one off? I think so too, personally.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll realize the mistakes. They're probably watching the footage today, realizing where they got to shore things up and make mistakes. But we will get to Cincinnati in due course. But we're going to go talk about something else first. How about that? To quote, who was it? No, I forget who it was. Anyway, screw it. I
Yeah.
can't remember. I can't, it's like, how about that?
Bob Uecker?
But no, that's well, actually, it was in that era. No, it was the guy who did This Week in Baseball. But anyway,
Hey,
Daniel
Scott,
Jones.
Scott, take this away. This is all you.
Yeah. You go first, Scott. Then we'll
Yeah,
get to the
you know
roll
what?
now.
Have at it.
By all
Have the
means.
floor.
I'm 47 years old. At this point, having been a fan for now 40 years, and a miserable one for the last 30, ever since like LT and Sims retired, this team has been mostly hit or miss, mostly miss in the 30 years. Occasionally they get in. Once in a blue, they figure out a way to backdoor their asses into a Super Bowl. But this is not a team that typically we've had a lot of faith in for the last 30 years. Watching this game yesterday, I suddenly realized I'm 47 years old because my heart can't take this. My wife literally said, I have never seen you act like this before. Because, usually I'm pretty subdued when it comes to sports, it's like, but the F-bombs that were coming out of me, flipping off the screen, all the stuff that she has talked about being with a Mets fan, which you guys obviously more than understand, she saw with me yesterday when it came to watching the Giants and a back and forth slugfest with the Vikings, that for a while there, I was not sure they were going to win this game, also a naked gun. Yeah, it's true. So yeah, the Cinderella, the season has not ended. It has not hit 12 o'clock yet. That's going to be a Big Ben sized clock next week against the Eagles. But at the same time, they got past the Vikings. If they get trashed by the Eagles next week, I'm actually pretty okay with it because they at least got to the playoffs and beat a team, in this case. If they got killed by Minnesota, to me, this would have been kind of a lost season. But at least Daniel Jones, Saquon, and even the new kids got to finally taste a playoff win for the first time, and a good one. That fourth down where it was fourth down, I think 8, where it was thrown for about 3 yards. That pass by Kirk Cousins made no sense, late in the game like that. But I saw that, and I saw him in the grasp, and I saw basically every other Giants defender coming down. That was the first time this entire game that I actually felt safe. Where it was no more back and forth, because you look at the quarterback percentages for both, quarterbacks. Kirk Cousins threw one hell of a good game. Nearly every pass was complete. Nearly every single one of them. They more or less contained Jefferson and Dalvin Cook, but he was making the pass. Both teams were making the passes that they needed to. The Giants punted, I think, once. The Vikings, I think, maybe only 2 or 3 times, because it was always just back and forth. I remember Greg Olson and Kevin Burkhardt were talking about, this is a great game to watch. And I'm like, not if you're a fan of one of the goddamn teams. It's not. Oh, dude. But suffice it to say, a win is a win. My lifespan is probably a little bit shortened on this one, but we'll see what happens next week. Anyway, rant over.
So
it was also a very disciplined game. Not that many flags.
It was a very well coached game.
Well, there was a roughing the passer.
Yeah. I think that
Brandon, we can digest that one.
I could just see Brandon's head explode.
Right. That was when I asked, is that Brady back there or Cousins? Is that the one?
Yeah.
But I think to Brandon's point earlier when we were talking the Bills, you have to wonder how you have to credit Dable's Jones's improvement to Dable, and then you do have to question Allen's disapprovement over the course of the season, not just in the playoffs, but also and this is our most active group chat game, I think, obviously because Scott had a vested interest. But at halftime, they were still blitzing. Wink was blitzing, and Hawkinson was open. Every time 5 guys went, Hawkinson was open. And I do know that by the end of the game, it was the Giants' least. They only blitzed on 19%, which was their lowest mark for the season. And so Wink saw what I saw, which is I got to get pressure with 4, and they did. Thibodeau was the right pick for this team because only on the New York Giants can you survive that snow angel mishap. And Lawrence just dominated the game. I'm getting the lineman's name wrong, but it was all Wink and that defense took over and kept the game close. And let me tell you, I think I also texted, do you go for 2? Because I do know that the math says in the current overtime system, you go for 2. It's like a 64% chance of winning versus a 50% chance of winning going for 2 with no time left on the clock in a 1-point game. But it's different with the new overtime rule. So I bet you they don't even know what to do. So they probably go for 1 because it's the conservative thing. And I thought that Cousins was taking him down for a touchdown. I believe I picked the Giants in this game. But I'm watching that game, and unlike with the 2 backup quarterbacks we saw during the weekend, this is the one time I'm going, this guy's going to get him down for a touchdown, and we're going to see overtime. Yeah. And he made the worst decision that he made all game, because it's okay if you throw short if the guy's open and can use his athleticism to make somebody miss. But he couldn't. And also, I think it's important for Giants fans and everybody who commented when he was picked 6th. He's got to win in the playoffs. I don't believe Mighty Mouse does, and I know Haskins, rest his soul, does not. I thought it was a good pick at 6. I thought the justification was stupid. Oh, somebody else wanted him instead of just manning up going, this is my guy. But I do say now he was a first rounder, and he's got a playoff win and a team around him. And we will talk on the offseason. How much is he worth? Because he's going to expand it.
Danny Dimes is now going to be Danny lots of dollars after this game.
Danny Dinero.
Whether it's from the Giants or another team that just throws stupid money at him and the Giants don't match it, then Jones is going to get paid.
I'll be honest.
Another like out of the quarterbacks available, this is the one I want the Jets to throw money at.
Really? You want them to basically just change jerseys and stay in the same address?
I can dream. I don't exactly have high expectations for anything regarding the Jets quarterback position, and especially since they need to fix their offensive line first, or whatever highly paid quarterback is going to get killed back there. So I'm okay with signing. Heck, bring back. I said before, Sam or Gino. I don't really care. Just literally anybody else other than Zach Wilson.
I don't think of a quarterback. Like, it's hard when they talk about free agent quarterbacks to imagine a quarterback's really a free agent. We're going to get to another one in just a minute. Unless you used up all 3 of your franchise tags. Jones is getting franchised if he can't agree to a deal. That's not even the question. So, I mean, if the Giants don't franchise him and let him walk,
be an epically stupid decision.
It'd be the dumbest thing I've seen. I mean, even if he hadn't won this game, just after the season he had, he earned a franchise tag and prove it season. He had earned that much. And I think this game has earned him the prove it game. He proved he won.
Yes.
Now, if they lose to the Eagles, look, there's no harm in losing the Eagles. I think the Eagles are another level.
Priority at this point. They got passed around.
Yeah, and Minnesota, we all talked about being a paper tiger. Like these wins aren't real.
Yep.
And the Giants went and they said, no, it wasn't real. You beat us on a fluke 63-yard field goal. We are the better team. And we've been in your division. We would have won it. And I think the Giants are where, and we didn't discuss this, where Miami fans both are at the same place, I think. Like, we got something really good out of the season. We are ready for next year. We have things to fix. I think that's going to be the end for the Giants season. At some point, they're going to lose to one of these teams. Like, we have things to fix, but we are in position. Let's lock down this passer.
But could you imagine now? Obviously, Obi, you're not going to want this, but just run with it, for a second. If the Giants manage to figure out a way to get past the Eagles next week, Daniel Jones would be in an NFC Championship game. Daniel Jones would be in an NFC Championship game where Tony Romo never was.
And I wouldn't be able to leave my house because Eagles fans will just set most of Southeast Pennsylvania on fire.
It'll be worse if they win the Super Bowl than if they lose to either the Giants or the Cowboys in this playoff run. But it will be, if Daniel Jones beats this Eagle team, I think Daniel Jones will be the 3rd or 4th highest paid quarterback in the NFL next year. I think that he'll get that kind of contract. Otherwise, he'll be 9th or 10th.
Yeah, that's the difference between getting, let's say, what Jimmy Garoppolo made on this contract, which I believe was 5 years, 130 million, 125, 130 million, give or take. That's about where I think Jones might be now versus getting Kyler Murray money. If they get to an NFC Championship game or beyond.
Which, by the way, JD, at your request, you had me put up a poll yesterday. As an Eagles fan, Eagles fans, who would you want to basically face? Overwhelmingly, 56% did say the Giants. Cowboys were second, by the way. Technically, second was I don't care, but actually, as an actual team goes, the Cowboys were actually a distant second. So,
I asked somebody who was an Eagles fan that yesterday. I'm checking their answer now. It was he also said he also said Giants, and he doesn't think that Tampa is beating Dallas. But we'll get to that. But yeah, most of them, Giants fans, they think they can beat the Giants. Yeah, that's why. And they're going to be very confident. And I think that might be a mistake. And this is a game where it could be a blowout, or it could be like the Miami Buffalo game, where like it'll be closer. I could easily see that where it's closer.
That was a garbage game.
I feel like there are 3 teams in each conference: the Bills, the Chiefs, and Cincinnati on one side, and then in the NFC, it's a little different. It's the Eagles and the Niners, and then if the Cowboys play well, right? And if the Cowboys play well, and then the Giants were with Minnesota. I fully believe they were the better team. I picked them, but I do think both those teams are a step below. And so, as a Eagles fan, much rather face the Giants than the Cowboys, because the Cowboys, you don't know what's showing up, and we'll hopefully we'll have time to talk about that tonight. But on paper, when they play well, the Cowboys should beat everybody, but they don't play well. Whether it's because they have a star on their helmet, or Jerry in the box, or it's their coach, or whatever it is, they have ways of being like, we don't feel like playing today.
Yeah. Dak just throws out a few duds every once in a while, too.
Dak had a lower QB rating than Daniel Jones this year, and he's 4 years older.
And I would
tell you, mind not blown by that one a little bit.
I blame Dable. I mean, I really do. I blame McCarthy. Like, you see it with Aaron. Like, that's the difference between Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, and then the other quarterbacks, right? Like, when they have a good coach, if you're the other quarterback, you play like it. When you're Aaron Rodgers, it doesn't matter who your coach is until you get old. When you're Tom Brady, it doesn't matter who your coach is until you get old. And McCarthy's just as a coach. He had Aaron Rodgers. He didn't make Aaron Rodgers.
Speaking of Aaron Rodgers, management has already said that if Aaron Rodgers wants to come back to Green Bay next year, they can. I got to wonder what Jordan Love is thinking right now after 3 years of being on the bench.
They must not think I'm that good.
Another quarterback I'd be okay with the Jets trading for.
Yeah,
Jordan Love, not Rodgers.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah, because Aaron Rodgers waited 3 years for Favre. So
I would go. I hate the Brett Favre narrative with that. I mean, we're going into a little bit of left field here, just because it's the obvious kind of mirror image of Packers to Jets. I just situationally don't think it's close to being similar, but that's a discussion for another episode. That's a very off season.
Yeah.
Right there. We have something else to discuss in this case here.
Basketball.
Dude, it looks like a jump shot. It really does. That's why I tried to find a picture like this. That's why the thumbnail for the YouTube channel was literally that, because it looks so much like the rim.
Yeah. And that play, I think, was practiced like an end of game situation. You see, like, it was very well coached. The defensive players were all in the right position. And before this play, Scott, I felt the same way you did. Like, wow, did I accidentally get this game right? Yeah. And then this happened. Nope, I did not. But this was fantastic. But that comment just with the.
I'm going over.
But this was perfectly executed. This was perfectly executed by the Bengals. So Taylor and the defensive coordinator clearly practiced this play. They were all in the right position to knock the ball out and to pick up the fumble and run it back 99.5 yards. I always love it when interior linemen or linebackers who don't normally have any chance at the ball pick it up and run back for a touchdown, like the James Harrison return in the Super Bowl a few years back. I love seeing those kinds of plays.
Yeah, I mean,
I just want to say real quick, I agree that it was practice, that the defensive play, simply because they showed Zach Taylor's reaction after that. And maybe I'm crazy, but it seemed like his excitement was a deliberate excitement, like it was an expected outcome, more of like I can't believe it just happened outcome. So for that, I really do think it was practice as well. And but just from the Ravens standpoint, this Huntley, he can play.
Yeah,
he's
Lamar Jackson is done with the Ravens, official after this game.
So to this play, I am surprised because I was watching all day to hear somebody say, all day I'm watching football coverage, to hear somebody say how the coaching staff have been practicing for when guys got over, instead of trying to hit them back, block the ball. But because it looked like not only does it intentional, it's the right strategy and nobody does it. And brilliant. Like you don't need to block the body on that play. Block the ball. Like it looked like
you have to create a goal line that doesn't get crossed.
Right. And I immediately wrote, you guys were like, yeah, oh my goodness, never seen that before. Brilliant coaching, and it hasn't been broadcasted that way. But it just looked, two guys went straight up. They've been watching basketball tapes anytime one sport translates to another sport. I find it fascinating, and that's what it looked like. And then on top of that, it gets recovered by your team and goes the other way. He did look good, Huntley. And he looked like the only guy who could run this offense. I think the bigger issue for Lamar is you see what kind of offense he has to run and what happens when he's gone. And I think that's what hurts his stay in the rest of the league more than anything else is, do I want to do that to my team? Dobbins probably should have had the ball then. And for Harbaugh to make that kind of mistake is shocking. He's been a great coach. He's one of the coaches I put up there as a guy who I just think as a coach is going to get it done. I do agree with Dobbins. Why he wasn't getting the ball on that play is crazy. But wow for Cincinnati. Cincinnati's lost two offensive linemen in that game who are week to week. If they're not there, that Buffalo Bills front, I feel gets through. And that's we did not discuss that about when we were talking about that game. That I do not feel comfortable. Like I know you're going to ask me and I'm going to make a prediction, but I can tell you that my least confident game is going to be who I pick on that game, because of the swirl around the lineman. But the defense was spectacular. But that last drive when Huntley had the ball, I felt like the game was over already. I did not feel, it was the same kind of feeling I had when Miami had the ball. It was not the feeling I had when Cousins had the ball. I felt like the game was over. And then when it was 2nd and 20 or 1st and 20 after the penalty, it was a done deal. And Harbaugh also, he was coaching like we have to can't leave time on the clock for Burrow. Had you not seen what your defense has been doing? Your
defense, clock management was terrible.
The thing was, second string quarterback, get the points, and then let the defense do what the defense was doing. That's how. And I get it. If it's a field goal situation, run that clock. But no, you took too much time away from the kid. I've never really seen Harbaugh have a bad game like this before, and I really feel that he did. Going on with Lamar is in his head because he doesn't know what's going on with Lamar, and it's a thing, it's above his pay grade sort of situation. I wonder if that was happening because he did not make the right call on both the play that the fumble comes on and how he managed clock. And it's not like Hughes McDaniels, who's his first playoff game. This is a guy who wins playoff games.
He's won a Super Bowl.
Well, it was like has 9 playoff wins on the road.
They're better on the road.
They're better. Yeah, I mean, so it was just ugly. Now, I think Lamar wants to be done, but Lamar has a franchise tag to deal with and trade requests. So if Lamar wants to keep playing football, he may be forced to stay in Baltimore because he's got 3 years of franchise tags. And I don't think this year helped his trade value or his market value.
Honestly, I think that Baltimore, after the performance that Huntley put on last night, and with all of this back and forth, I don't think that the Ravens will franchise him. I think they'll just let him go and roll with Huntley. With the bad blood that has developed. And also this game last night, I don't think it would have been any different if it was Jackson at their quarterback versus what we saw with Huntley last night. I think Jackson also gets his pocket picked on that play by the Bengals defense that has clearly been preparing all season for that moment and came up big. I don't think that Jackson is. I think that his relationship with the Ravens is poisoned. And the last few weeks, especially last night's game, even though they lost, they were in a position to win it, and it took rare coaching brain farts from Harbaugh for them not to get that. So why? So just like we were talking about with the Niners before, why would you pay pay a bunch of millions for a quarterback when you have one in-house who's for peanuts?
Basically,
and you can get similar results. So just roll with Huntley. Buy Lamar.
I think the records show that they're not nearly as good with Huntley. I think he's like they're 3-8 without Lamar over the last 2 years. So I think that the records go to show, and I don't think we can take the one game scenario and do what we mentioned earlier. We don't want to do an Osweiler or with the Green Bay quarterback that we mentioned earlier. I think I'm like the least, we know I'm always like, what about the rest of the team, not the quarterback? But in one of those games, and he's not a great quarterback, he's Kirk Cousins, I felt like the quarterback had a chance to bring the teams back. And the other two, I felt it was inevitable that they weren't going to come back. And had Lamar been playing, I would have felt that the Ravens had a chance in that final drive. And that's the difference to me. Had Lamar been playing, I know I would have felt, because I've seen Lamar play, even if he had Huntley's exact game up until that point, that there was a chance he was going to do something magical.
Yeah, but that's also still predicated on Jackson coming out there and being Lamar Jackson. If he comes out there and is 50, 60, even 75%, throw Huntley out there. I mean, it's just in that level of productivity, it would be the same, I think. So I agree with that. It's just I don't think Baltimore wants to go into a off season fully submerged in this drama, because now the pot is boiled over. Because in the last year or even two, you could be like, he's still young, whatever. You know, the injuries weren't a thing. He was the MVP, but now it's the overall contract coming up. It's the injuries. It's something where I think Baltimore as an organization is a very proud organization. This is not a situation with quarterbacks that they are used to, even though they are one of the youngest teams in the league still. I guess they'll always be one of the youngest teams in the league at that logic. But given that, I just don't think Baltimore wants to subject themselves to that level of drama. I think they are too proud of an organization.
They don't put up with it.
Yeah, and I disagree with the Matt Flynn, Osweiler switch. He wouldn't be switching teams nor switching coaching staffs. I think Harbaugh is still going to stay there. I just don't see a situation in which Jackson comes back and use it to 3 franchise tag. That's 3 years of this. I don't see that's not happening.
Fair.
I think they are smart from a business standpoint, and this situation starts to fall under a business standpoint, not really a football standpoint. So I think Jackson is done.
Yeah, the Ravens are kind of like Patriots light in that regard, where just they have an organizational culture, they stick to it, and over the top. If there's anybody doing over the top drama, they're usually tossed out. So that's another reason why I think that the Ravens will not put up with Jackson's shenanigans anymore, and they'll just let him go and move on.
And then the
They
Jets
have
will
a system and it works. So they're not going to mess up the system for Lamar Jackson.
And the Jets will sign him 5 years, 120.
Yep, that is exactly the dumb move that I am expecting Woody to make.
With
The better the
110
Giants
guaranteed.
do, the dumber Woody gets, just like Steinbrenner in the '80s. And when the Giants pulled the second Super Bowl in 5 years out of thin air, what did they do? That brought us the Tebow disaster. So I'm expecting something equally dumb to come from the Jets this offseason. Don't know what it is yet, but I know something stupid's going to happen.
Don't know what
There's
it
probably
is.
5 quarterbacks I would rather take, even just the ones that are free agents, not even the ones just in the league, just that I would take before Lamar Jackson.
Wow. Okay.
Again, it's not even a talent thing. It's a schematic thing. It's a health thing. It's a
price thing.
It's kind of an ego thing, too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look. Look, Baltimore. I've been to Baltimore a couple of times. It's a great city, but putting under the microscope of New York, I mean, I know pressure makes diamonds, but it also breaks a lot of things, and you're left with broken pieces. So I really just don't even want to take the risk, not with this current Jets team. Yeah,
that's fair. I do agree with you that
I'm not taking a flyer on this.
I will agree. When you said you specifically the Jets, I agree with you about that. In general, I would say probably not, but I do see Lamar. He, if you go back to pretty good game for a running back on his to open up his MVP season, that comment would be coming back to haunt him to this day if he was in the New York market, because there have been games where it's been pretty bad passing for he's had his bad games, and in the New York market, those games that quote would have circulated.
New York is a different country than the rest of the United States.
I don't know about the rest, but then Baltimore.
Yeah,
because then Baltimore. I agree that.
I think a lot of players would say that though, especially when it comes to baseball. And
Post and Daily News would be all over stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hey,
you
know what?
never hear.
Luckily, there's someone in the building, even currently still, and maybe not longer, that can speak to this, and that's Mr. Joe Flacco. You go ask him what the difference is.
Yep.
Even in a short time period here, he'll let you know what it's about compared to Baltimore.
Even better, he won't be in the building. He will have, he'll be free to speak freely, if you will.
He'll be retired and probably working in TV somewhere next year.
And happy to give honest advice if asked, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, Joe Flacco would be better as a TV analyst than Tom Brady. I'm sick of this Tom Brady being a TV analyst job. I can't see that happen. That's not happening.
Speaking of
Voldemort here.
We got a couple minutes. We can do a couple minutes on that, but you guys stand by what you said. I don't remember what the exact breakdown was, but I think one of you guys said the Cowboys were going to win this.
Was it Kyle?
I picked Tampa. I think it may have been
Kyle.
Might have been Kyle who picked
Kyle, because I know that
I'm Tampa.
Yeah, I'm Tampa also.
You put all the picks in the group chat earlier. I'm going back.
I know that it was. I was watching one of the many shows today, and the Cowboys are gaining more and more respect as the week has gone on. But
he picked Cowboys. Okay.
Yeah, I just think that I still think that I've talked about many times how quarterback is too much, but I feel like this game is going to be one of those games where the quarterback's going to be the most important thing, and it's going to come down again to that fourth quarter, one of the same drives we just saw, and finally one of the quarterbacks is going to do it, and it's going to be TB12, and it's just nothing you can do about it. But I will say this. If the Cowboys win, and they win like they are the better football team, like they are on paper, I think if I'm a San Francisco fan, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
If the Cowboys get it together, I'm afraid if I'm sitting in San Francisco. If they win, but they look like garbage doing it, and it's just that TB12 is old and the rest of Tampa sucks, like they win a game like some of the other games we've gone over, I'm fine if I'm there. But if they come out there and they put a smash down on TB12 in Tampa, And even if it kind of looks like Tampa's kind of putting together a comeback at the end, but gets no. If they look good, I'm scared if I'm San Francisco because maybe they'll be hot for a week or two. And I'm scared as an Eagle fan that they'll be hot for 2, 3, 4 weeks. But until I see them get past, until I see a team that has mental problems get by a quarterback that puts his image on you mentally, I got no faith in this Dallas team to beat that ghost that is TB12. Like Tiger Woods. He just scares you. And I feel this team is liable to be mentally cracked.
I have no faith in Dak.
Same. Yeah. You know.
Okay.
I would have more faith in basically Brady at home in this case than I would Dak on the road, knowing his success in the postseason or lack thereof.
I'm going to bring up a point here. And to go off of this 49ers point, if LB, you said if I'm the 49ers, I want the Cowboys to win and play them next week. If I am the 49ers, do I want to go up against playoff Brady, who wants to burn them for what they've done these last few years?
Yep.
I think if the Cowboys beat Tampa a little bit on their high horse, go Cowboy Nation, we beat Tom Brady in the playoffs, they're going to be out of their mind. It's going to be perfect setup to come crashing down the week coming up against the 49ers. I think Tampa's going to win just from this matchup. But if Dallas were to, if that were the case, if I'm the 49ers, I want Dallas to win. I do not want to go up against Tom Brady at all.
Yeah.
I disagree. This is just so golf to me. Brock Purdy is like the young golfers.
But it's not even about Brock Purdy. It's about the Niners. It's about the situation.
No, Tom Brady's magic is the fear he puts into your offense when he's on the bench. He's the only guy who could do that. All these comebacks and things that happen, it's the offense falls apart and then gives the ball to Brady. But
all the more reason that the 49ers would want Dallas to win.
Because if you're Brock Purdy, you're young enough that this is not what it is. This is not who you're playing. You're playing the guy you have beaten more times in your imagination than he's actually played in the playoffs. Every time Brock Purdy took a snap as a kid, it was against Tom Brady in his head. This is his imagined. This is like the young golfers who came up, and as soon as Tiger got a little hurt and showed a crack, and Stafford put that crack out there. It wasn't like he got beaten by Manny. He got beaten by Stafford. The crack was there. The crack is there to see. I don't think that Purdy has that fear. I know Dak still has that fear. And that's what this comes to me. This is all up in here. Now, Cowboys Nation is the fans. It's not what's going to happen in that house.
No, because Jerry Jones is going to feed into it. It's going to be the whole machine. Yep. The gears are going to be rolling, and that's how it works. Come on, as a rival, you know how it is.
There is also a revenge factor from last year with the Niners beating Dallas the way that they in AT&T Stadium. The way that they did, and with Dallas and Dak self-destructing the way that they did, there will be motivation for the Cowboys to return the favor to San Francisco if they do get past Brady. So but I like you're both right. I think is that. But Purdy does have no fear because
it's like he doesn't know what he doesn't know. It's one of those situations.
Right, exactly. He was born in 1999. He was in diapers when Brady started playing. So Dak, Dallas, Jerry Jones, you can always count on them to self-destruct anytime, anywhere, just when you least expect it, and sometimes when you most expect it. Whether it's tonight against Tampa or next week in San Francisco or even
least expected.
So it could be. So really, but I also agree that Voldemort would be on the warpath against San Francisco. So I wouldn't be surprised if either one of these teams beats the 49ers next week for the reasons for all the reasons that you say.
We're going to find out in less than an hour or two. Kickoff is at 8:30, gentlemen.
So I know we don't do our picks as a confidence pool, but this was also my least confident game that I'm picking. I feel like I'm picking the worst team to win for all the reasons we've all discussed.
We'll revisit next week too.
Only the Chargers and Jaguars were even in the debate for most of a coin flip, but I mean, this is like it's 50.
I think we as a whole were more confident in the Giants than the nation was.
Yes.
Yeah, and
okay. Here, and you just mentioned the Giants going in that matchup to this matchup here, and I mentioned this a couple days ago in our chat, and I wish I had thought of this question. It was more concerning that Vikings go into the playoffs with their record and their point differential than it is for especially this Brady-led Bucs team, even being barely under 500 and going into the playoffs. I thought, again, a coin flip, the biggest coin flip, but I have more confidence in Tampa than I did in the Vikings, hence my Giants pick. So
well, we're going to revisit the 4 games next week once we have this on lockdown and figured out. I've already got a pretty good handle in my head what I'm going to go with on something like that. But before we wrap it up, JD, you were going to talk a little college basketball real quick. The upcoming schedule.
Yeah. So with the so Seton Hall needed to go 4-1 over their past 5 games in order to get back to 500. They managed to do it, and they won 2 ugly games on the road against Georgetown and DePaul. And both getting take the plaintiff off the screen, go through another one.
All right.
Long story. I don't want to get into it, but but with the so DePaul is not as bad as they have been in the past. They just beat Villanova for the first time in 15 years, which, while granted, Villanova themselves almost lost to Georgetown this afternoon, and they're in big trouble in their own right. These were 2 wins that Seton Hall needed to even stay in the conversation, but they got them, and we have big ones this week at home against UConn on Wednesday. UConn, I think, is ranked 12th, 15th or so after the last poll, after they lost this past weekend, and Providence went up, not Providence, Marquette. On Saturday is ranked 20th. So they have 2 ranked opponents at home. These are 2 chances for big wins. If they can get one of them, they're in good shape. If they get both somehow, then it's off to the races, and then they're going for the top 5 spot in the Big East. But as it is, they're still getting it together. It's not a finished product yet, this team, but they definitely have a good shot. I think they have a better shot against Marquette than they do against UConn. I think they're
UConn
a bad
is 15th.
matchup. UConn's ranked 15th. Okay. Yeah, and I believe there's 4 or 5 Big East teams ranked. I believe 4. I think, because I think Providence and Xavier are also ranked. Xavier's top 10. And so Sonogo is going to be a brutal matchup for the Hall, because the front court has been an issue for the Pirates all season. They really miss Alexis Yetna. So they have Tyrese Samuel, Trey Jackson off the bench, and Casey Nadefo playing out of position. But Nadefo's been up to the challenge, but Samuel has struggled at times, and Jackson has, Jackson is he's more of an offensive player than he is a defensive player. So that's a tough matchup sometimes. He really struggled for a few minutes against Kalkbrenner from Creighton, so I'm not as confident on the UConn game, but but who knows what can happen in any of these games. Marquette has been on fire lately, so this should be so. If Seton Hall gets either one of these games, this will be a huge chip for them, and momentum going forward into the second half of the Big East season.
Nice.
Yeah, but they're 4-4. They sit in 6th right now, I believe. Mm-hmm. So they'll move up to 5th with a win on Wednesday,
and possible conversations with various Seton Hall people with us upcoming too. So
yeah, and the women's team is playing UConn on Tuesday as well. And with the UConn women being banged up as they are, that could be a winnable game for them too. Mm-hmm. Even though the Hall struggled against Creighton out in Omaha this past week, but if another one, just throw your shot out there and see what happens.
Sure. So, all right, gents, I think we'll wrap this up at this point. Any other final thoughts, ideas, comments, compliments, or complaints? So
I'm all
right, cool. Yeah, cool. All right.
Did we run through picks for next week completely? Just real quick.
We'll wait on that until we know for sure what is going to happen with Bucks and Tampa. I figure it's the best way to do it. I'm pretty sure all four of us have in our head what we're going to pick for the other 3 games already that are already set in stone. I think all 3 of us know where we're going to go, but we're going to save all of that for next week. I think. I think
the games will be over next week.
Do we want to do maybe like a 5 or 10 minute video, at some point this week, and do a quick pick and preview?
We could do that. I can do that tomorrow. I have a COVID test tomorrow I'm up at 5 a.m. for that. Wednesday is out for me. I don't know about Thursday, Friday yet.
Tomorrow it's no go for me. Wednesday's probably rough, but Thursday and Friday, I should be good.
We'll figure it out. We don't need to.
Yeah, now we're getting into backroom talk here on the.
Exactly. Yeah, I'd say that's fine. Whatever. I don't care. But that will be discussed. We will figure that out. I am 4-1 right now going into tonight's game. So undefeated. I have a chance to go 5-1, which I can walk away happy with.
I'm also 5-0 because the one game I disagreed with.
Should have been 5-0, and you guys should have been 4-1.
I did the one game I disagreed with with a caveat that did not happen. Tua did not play. I got my bills.
That's true. Yeah. You and Kyle had caveats on that. You're like, well, I'll go for this guy. If this guy is, I'll go for this team.
It was not any guy. It was the starting quarterback. I mean,
I will predict that the Cowboys will win if the Cowboys win.
That's come on.
I predict and bet with my head, my heart, and my stone. So I have faith in all my picks. Never doubted them.
So,
yeah. Except when I turned the game mentally off, not having watched it at 27-0, they woke up. Oh, I got that one.
Yeah. So I'm 3-2 so far. Obi is 5-0.
Yeah,
we're 5-0.
Yeah, and Scott's 4-1.
Undefeated. As LeVar Ball said, never lost.
And where was Kyle at?
Kyle's 4-1 and James is 4-1.
We're all over 500. So
yeah.
So I think I forget who picked what for tonight, but So all bottom line is
Kyle went with his brain and picked the Cowboys.
Yeah, Kyle picked Dallas, and then the rest of us picked the Bucks for tonight.
Next week, I will pick Giants because I have to, but we'll get into that. That is a Saturday night game at 8:15. Oh, that's going to be prime. Loving it. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
Oh, this city's going to be rocking.
Oh, it's going to be lit down here.
I might go to town for that.
I'm going to park myself on the couch.
Yeah, I don't know whether I should be here or if I should. There's the Marquette game Saturday afternoon, so we'll see if I'm back in town for that or not.
Well, by the way,
anywhere on the turnpike you stop, the game will be the game will be hot.
Oh, it'll be on. But so will all of everybody down this area. Ooh.
Yeah,
right. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying like wherever you stop,
I would love before we.
By the way, just to point out, this is the general banter that we have, even though we're technically still broadcasting right now. This is the general banter that we have on or off air. So you're getting a glimpse into what it's like actually.
That's how you know we're real.
Yeah, pretty much. So.
No, I honestly would love to know how many people call out of work on Monday, or Monday.
Yeah.
Well, no, if they play if they play
Saturday night, so
they play Saturday, so no, they'll be sad, but they'll be there.
So that game time's So all games have been scheduled.
Yes.
Okay.
Basically, the breakdown right now is
Yeah, we're just waiting for this last
Saturday
matchup.
4:30 is Jacksonville KC.
Kansas City.
Giants
Yeah.
Giants Eagles. I mentioned that. Cincinnati and Buffalo is 3 p.m. on Sunday, and then the night game will be the game against San Francisco.
I wish I wish I felt confident in the Cincinnati offensive line showing up, because I think that is going to be a great game if they do. Because I have no faith in. Look, I like Jacksonville. I like there. See, I'm going into my predictions, but I'll stop. Cut us off. Hit the
Save
leave
'em.
button. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll figure those out. Even if we end up doing individual ones like Kyle recommended, that could be done too. We do them at our own leisure, and I'll post each one of them as we go. So, all right, folks, we'll wrap it up. Thanks as always. I'm Scott. That's JD. That's Obi. That's Brandon. Kyle's in the chat. Also, some of you guys I know. I saw there was other people in there too that were watching Kyle's comments. That works too. That's about it. Tales from the Film Set will be coming up shortly afterwards, and we will be tearing apart Velma for various different reasons. Oh boy. So, oh dude, I'm not happy about that one, and neither is the rest of my family either. So anyway, catch